Like a gem. It is deeply set in the Gobi Desert, 2,000 kilometers away from Chang'an. It holds a myriad of treasures, in endless variety. Like a myth, it has drawn generations in reverence and quest. Mystical three hares pursue in the eternal cycle. Graceful flying apsaras soar as if boundless. Enchanting melodies echo in modeled murals. Remarkable starfields retain ancient brilliance. Maitreya teachings never fade away on the Silk Road. Various ethnic groups, different beliefs and diverse cultures coexist here, constantly nourishing the fusion of human civilizations. Countless cultural codes are waiting to be discovered in the clues of history. Once we dive deep into it, it's like we're time travelers, wandering on the ancient Silk Road. We interpret the Sogdian ancient letters to savor the bittersweet farewell of the Silk Road merchants. We dress in exquisite costumes to recall the great era of multi-ethnic harmony. We unravel the mysteries of national treasures to carry forward the glory of human civilizations. This glamorous place, located deep in China's inland, is an oasis amidst the vast Gobi Desert. Through the haze of history, with great tolerance, it's been a tranquil sanctuary for civilizations of the world, weaving a timeless tale of cultural grandeur. This is the story of Grand Dunhuang. The late revered scholar Ji Xianlin once described the essence of the unparalleled confluence of civilizations here. There are only 4 cultural systems in the world with a long history, vast territory, and profound influence: China, India, Greece, and Islam. There is no fifth. There is only one place that witnesses their confluence: Dunhuang and Xinjiang, China. There is no second. Why have so many threads of civilizations converged here? Why are so many people across the ages deeply attracted to it? Let us journey back in time, starting from a post house of the Han Dynasty, to uncover the storied Dunhuang history thousands of years ago.
We are walking along an ancient road. It's a landmark. Let me mark this spot. It's my first time here. Look at these weathered stones. They can't be like this in a short period. This must have been the main ancient road, what we'd call the highway of that time.
Along this ancient road of the Han Dynasty from 2,000 years ago, we journey deep into the Gobi Desert. Buried under sand and stones, there is a Han post house, a link between the east and the west. Zhang Junmin, an archaeologist, has witnessed the excavation of this underground site. Xuanquan is located 64 kilometers east of Dunhuang. It is the only relic site of a Han post station discovered in China so far, belonging to Dunhuang Commandery under the Han Empire over 2,000 years ago. To the south lies the branches of the Sunway Mountains, where a spring flows out and never ceases year-round, called Xuanquan. Hence, it got the name Xuanquan Post House. Was the ancient post station for official documents and decrees. During the Han and Tang dynasties, these stations were paired with beacon towers. A spring would lead to a beacon tower, and a beacon tower would lead to a post station. This brick, engraved with an image of a post rider, was unearthed in the Wei and Jin tomb in Xincheng Town, Jiayuguan City, 260 kilometers east of Xuanquan Post House. With just a few strokes, it vividly depicts the post system in the Heshi corridor of ancient times. A mounted post rider, holding a credential, appears to be rushing along the road from Dunhuang to Chang'an.
Xuanquan Post House served two functions. One was for delivering official documents and decrees, similar to the modern post office. The other was to accommodate guests, like officials, envoys, and merchants. They could stay here with credentials. All expenses of Xuanquan Post House were covered by the government, making it an official guest house, similar to the official hostels in each county that existed not long ago.
Beyond the sands lies a faint vision of the ancient Dunhuang city from 2,000 years ago. As though recounting the solemnity and grandeur of the Han pioneering explorers. Perhaps even Emperor Wu of Han could not have foreseen the profound impact his decision would have on future connections and dialogues among civilizations across the Eurasian continent. The story of Dunhuang connecting the western regions was clearly recorded by early Tang painters in the murals in Cave 323 of the Yulin Grottoes. In this mural, Emperor Wu rides a majestic steed, followed by a group of attendants. As Zhang Qian kneels before him, Zhang Qian led the Han envoys over mountains and valleys, arriving in the ancient kingdom of Daxia. The artistic depiction closely aligns with historical facts. Historically, it was Zhang Qian's pioneering journey over 2,000 years ago that first brought the western regions into the vision of the Central Plains dynasties. Later, to better safeguard the western regions, Emperor Wu set up 4 commanderies in the Heshi corridor: Wuwei, Zhangye, Jiuquan, and Dunhuang. The Great Wall, beacon towers, and post systems also extended westward. Dunhuang, from a geographic perspective, was not an ideal location for a city, according to the urban planning principles of the Central Plains agricultural civilization. To the south stretched the vast, unapproachable Tibetan plateau. To the north lay the expansive Mongolian plateau, occupied by the Xiongnu. Westward, there is the desolate desert. And eastward, it is thousands of miles away from the capital Chang'an.
Dunhuang occupies a major place in this road because it's the place where you begin to travel to very distant and very difficult places. So Dunhuang was the last major oasis before you hit the desert.
So, why did the Han Dynasty build a city here?
Because elsewhere were either towering mountains or vast deserts, while this location uniquely featured a string of oases. Geographically, it is located in a corridor between the east and the west. And Dunhuang was the gateway of this corridor. This conferred upon Dunhuang distinctive and irreplaceable strategic importance along the Heshi corridor.
From 1990 to 1992, Zhang Junmin and his team from Gansu Provincial Institute of Cultural Relics and Archaeology excavated Xuanquan Post House, uncovering an area of over 6,000 square meters. Through 3D modeling, the former appearance of this Han post house was reconstructed. It was a square courtyard resembling a small fortress, with an east gate and tall perimeter walls. It included designated areas for administration, accommodation, stables, and watchtowers. One particular section near the northern wall was of higher quality. It consists of 3 interconnected small courtyards, each designed as a self-contained suite.
Now, as we approach the northern section of this site, you can see these high-grade accommodations. These were reserved for hosting distinguished guests and officials. Notably, famous figures like the Princess of Wusun, Marquis Chan Luo, or even the King and Queen of Kucha might have stayed here. While they passed through, it was the only place they could stay.
Outside the west wall of the courtyard was an area designated for waste disposal, known as the ash pit in archaeology. Archaeologists discovered many treasures in this Han dump site.
This was the largest dump site at that time. The major source of the Han slips unearthed at Xuanquan, over 15,000 pieces.
In the early 1990s, Zhang Junman's archaeological team discovered more than 70,000 relics at Xuanquan Post House, including over 35,000 Han slips, 23,000 of which were inscribed. These fragments of history, forgotten in the desert, have been brought to light once more. Among the unearthed Han slips, this record of post has attracted immense academic interest. It documents 14 place names and distances within
depictions of the Silk Road. Just simply draw a rough line across the map. It is far more challenging to identify the actual locations of the Silk Road, and Xuanquan Post House provides a critical reference point. It was a necessary waypoint on the Han Silk Road.
The journey from Chang'an to Dunhuang was 2,000 kilometers, long and arduous. So how were government decrees delivered? According to Han slips and other historical records, we gain an initial understanding. In normal circumstances, it required 1 to 2 months for Han officials to reach Dunhuang from Chang'an, utilizing the horses and carriages provided by post stations along the route. Urgent military intelligence or border alerts could be delivered to Chang'an from Dunhuang within just 8 days, via the rapid relay of messengers and stations. To defend Dunhuang and protect against the Xiongnu and the Dichang tribes, Emperor Wu ordered the construction of the Great Wall to the north of the Heshi Corridor. Additionally, 2 strategic passes, Yumen Pass and Yang Pass, were established in Dunhuang Commandery, positioned in a mutually reinforcing manner, as the gateways at the western end of the Heshi Corridor.
Yumen Pass and Yang Pass served as the final passes of the Western Han Empire's formal administrative territory. Their locations were not settled, but they generally marked the boundary of the Central Plains dynasty's direct control.
From a military perspective, Yang Pass and Yumen Pass served as the city fortifications, symbolizing the grandeur and military presence of the Han Dynasty. In times of peace, these 2 passes served as gateways for trade, travel, and cultural exchange. Their construction and function mirrored the Han's governance over the western regions.
During the Eastern Han to Northern Wei dynasty, in Yingchuan Commandery of the Central Plains, there was a place called Yang Gathering. And to the north, a pass named Chunggao Pass, also known as Hulao Pass, which was alternatively referred to as Yu Men. Research suggests that the names, layout, and functions of Dunhuang passes were influenced by these earlier examples from the Central Plains.
Let's keep moving upward, or we might run out of daylight before descending.
The exact location of Han's Yang Pass has long been a subject of debate and remains a mystery. To find archaeological evidence of the Han's governance over the western regions, Zhang Junmin is exploring it in the desert along the remnants of the Han Great Wall.
Building upon the work of earlier scholars, we have conducted detailed investigations on the supposed site of Yang Pass and employed a variety of modern techniques, such as remote sensing, real-time kinematics, and drone aerial photography. Essentially, all available methods at that time were employed.
Years of fieldwork saw Zhang Junmin and his team walking countless miles to survey every archaeological remnant related to their research. They climbed the Altan Mountains, reaching altitudes as high as 4,600 meters to inspect beacon towers. Despite their exhaustive efforts, they have yet to uncover any direct evidence. I would ask you to drink a cup of wine again. West of Yang Pass, there are no old friends. Yang Pass has been an eternal geographical and cultural symbol. Perhaps, in the near future, we may follow in the footsteps of our ancestors to delve into the sands of time, uncover traces of this legendary site, restore its grandeur, and recount the stories that unfolded there.
As some scholars have remarked, post routes and traffic networks were akin to the lifeblood of the empire, functioning much like the blood vessels in the human body, indispensable and vital.
The establishment of 4 commanderies and 2 passes laid a strong strategic foundation for the Han Dynasty at the westernmost end of the Heshi corridor. Thousands of soldiers were stationed here, forming a formidable defense force. Also, merchants, messengers, and travelers traversed this region in great numbers, leading to a huge demand for food and supplies. Relying solely on shipments from the Central Plains would have been insufficient. The vast amount of Han slips unearthed at Xuanquan Post House provides valuable insights into the lives of Han soldiers, merchants, and envoys from the east and the west. Today, these precious relics are housed in the Gansu Jiandu Museum. Inscribed on the walls of Xuanquan Post House, the Edict of Monthly Ordinances for the 4 Seasons is an ecological protection regulation issued during the reign of Emperor Ping of Han. It condenses the rhythms of spring planting, summer growth, autumn harvest, and winter storage, and also reflects a profound concern for the natural environment.
Take this for example. It mentions measures such as prohibiting the reckless cutting of trees in mountains and valleys, and protecting young wildlife during hunting seasons. These edicts prominently displayed on the walls, demonstrate that ecological preservation was prioritized not only in the Central Plains, but also in such a special area as the Hershey Corridor. That's what it's all about.
One specific decree states: build dikes and manage water channels from the first month to summer. It emphasizes the importance of irrigation facilities to ensure water flow for agricultural production during spring and summer. With extensive land reclamation, agricultural irrigation systems have also emerged.
The agricultural immigrants from the Central Plains, when settled down there, would definitely bring their own way of life, production methods, and some survival methods there in the long run. Then it changed from a nomadic region to an agricultural region.
In this vast desert, we can still faintly glimpse the remnants of ancient agricultural settlements in Dunhuang. Suoyang City, located on the Gobi Desert over 100 kilometers east of Dunhuang, is a World Cultural Heritage of ancient city ruins, Buddhist temple relics, ancient agricultural fields, and irrigation systems. Covering an area of 810,000 square meters, it is the most well-preserved city example of a Han commandery in China. Over 100 canal traces arranged like tree branches retain the agricultural management and farming systems employed by the central dynasties in the western regions. Besides farming and irrigation, granaries played an equally important role. Big Fong Pun Castle, located about 90 kilometers northwest of Dunhuang, still retains its sturdy structure and delicate triangular vents. Age never diminishes its dignity. Historical records confirm that Yang Pass, Yulin Pass, and the garrison troops along the Great Wall all relied on this site for their provisions. It was an important military depot for the western frontier, lasting from the Han to the Wei and Jin. By the end of the Western Han Dynasty, the population of Dunhuang Commandery had reached 38,000, primarily composed of immigrants and garrison soldiers from the Han ethnic group. They transformed Dunhuang into a thriving agricultural region, laid a solid material foundation for the Han's governance, and enabled Dunhuang to be a metropolis where Chinese and foreign cultures converged. During the same period, several other prominent civilizations flourished across the globe. In the Indian subcontinent, the Mauryan Empire, an ancient Indian civilization, thrived. In West Asia, the Parthian Empire and ancient Persian civilization reached their heights. Along the Mediterranean coast, the Roman Empire, founded by Julius Caesar, expanded the ancient Roman civilization. Around the Taklamakan Desert, there are many small oasis states, including Lolan, Khotan, Shula, and so on. Beyond them, lay larger states like Dayuan, Kumju, and Wusun. Before the establishment of Dunhuang Commandery, these civilizations had contacted each other. But they never achieved large-scale connections in a real sense. However, the founding of Dunhuang and the construction of a direct route to Chang'an heralded a new era of cultural exchange and interaction. The slips unearthed at Xuanquan Post House reveal accounts of numerous kings, hostages, envoys, and merchants from various western states who traveled to Dunhuang via the Silk Road. En route to Chang'an. The regions they came from included Central Asia, West Asia and South Asia. These records meticulously document information such as their living expenses, origins, identities, and subsequent destinations. Such trivial details provide a basis for tracing the history of civilizations.
For example, the people of Kazakhstan rely on Han slips as historical evidence, due to the absence of local written records from that time. This is the only written record left.
The list of King of Kangju's ambassadors consists of 7 slips with 293 characters. It details the journey of envoys sent by the Kingdom of Kangju in Central Asia to pay tribute to the Han in 39 BC. According to the convention, upon arrival in Dunhuang, their tribute had to be handed over to local officials for appraisement. However, when they arrived in Chang'an, they found discrepancies of the tribute camels compared to when they were handed over. Learning of this situation, the Han court issued a document for inquiry. Though the final outcome of this inquiry remains unknown, such documents provide a glimpse into the diplomatic relations between the Han Dynasty and the western regions. Dunhuang, located at the throat of the Silk Road, was the strategic gateway for the Central Plains governance over the western regions. It was not only a key node of diplomatic relations between the Central Plains and the western regions, but also a testament to the exchanges between the East and the West.
From Chang'an to Dunhuang, there are 45 stops, like Xuanquan Post House. The Silk Road was not as freely accessible as people might imagine. Travelers, whether on foot or horseback, required provisions and safeguards. At nightfall, they needed shelter, meals, and fodder for their animals. Thus, the Silk Road was not a naturally formed one. It required strong government support.
Today, looking back at history, we can better appreciate the vision of Emperor Wu and the enduring impact of his grand strategy. To open up the Heshi corridor and reach the vast western regions, it was essential to control the 4 commanderies in Heshi. Safeguarding Dunhuang ensured the peace and harmony at the western frontier and maintained Han's connection to the western regions. This formed the foundation for the later convergence, interaction, and fusion of diverse cultures and ethnic groups in Dunhuang. Thus, the way for the Silk Road, a remarkable passage connecting the Eurasian continent, quietly took shape. It was in this context, as postriders galloped along the post stations, that an ancient civilization from the banks of the Ganges arrived here along the Silk Road. Around the 1st century BC, Buddhism from ancient India began its journey into China. Dunhuang and Xinjiang became the earliest recipients of Buddhist teachings. Dunhuang was the first footholds of Buddhism in China, due to its geographical position and its function as a hub of cultural exchange. Travelers from the West, relying on their feet and limited pack animals, crossed mountains and deserts, risking their lives to reach Dunhuang. Before embarking on the journey eastward, they would express gratitude to the heavens. Those traveling westward from the Dunhuang oasis, into the endless sands, would pray to the Buddha for a safe journey.
Dunhuang was actually formed after countless trials and errors by early explorers and settlers. Their main destination was Chang'an, the Central Plains for trade, with Dunhuang merely a stop along the way. Some, however, stayed there due to unforeseen circumstances, leading to exchanges and interactions. Over time, it became a haven for monks, some of whom even settled there. It was there that they discovered the ideal conditions for carving grottos into the cliffs.
Today, traversing the Gobi Desert south of the Dunhuang oasis, we can see these spectacular grottos. These grottos, as a form of architecture, are a blend of Han cliff tombs and Indian Buddhist rock-cut temples from Central Asia. The exposed rocks of the Gobi Desert were hollowed out to paint murals and sculpt Buddhist statues. Under arid climatic conditions, these remnants of civilization have survived. The Myriad Grottoes is the largest and longest standing in Dunhuang. Located 25 kilometers southeast of Dunhuang at the eastern foot of Singing Sand Dunes and the western bank of the Dongchuan River.
One of the old names for the Myriad Cliff is myriad, a miraculous cliff, because it's almost dead straight for well over a kilometer in length and honeycombed with caves.
One of the earliest caves, Cave 268, dates back over 1,600 years to the Northern Liang period. According to legend, in 366 AD, a monk named Yuezwen wandered to the bank of Dongchuan River and suddenly saw golden light shining on the opposite Sanwei Mountains, appearing as if thousands of Buddhas were bathed in the golden light. He believed this was a sign from Buddha. So he carved the first cave of the Myriad Grottoes and meditated in the cave. The quiet room on the cliff was transformed into Buddha's heaven. A cultural narrative full of ups and downs began a journey of thousands of years. Devout monks, providers, and craftsmen throughout the ages poured their thoughts, prayers, and beliefs into the cliffs of Singing Sand Dunes. The vast time and space, combined with their pure hearts, contributed to the creation of an unparalleled cultural and artistic legacy integrating grotto architecture, murals, and painted sculptures. From the 4th to the 14th century, spanning the 16 kingdoms to the Yuan Dynasty, the Dunhuang Grottoes, including the Myriad, Thousand Buddha Caves, and Yulin Grottoes, were gradually developed. The Yulin Grottoes, located in Guizhou County, Gansu Province, were carved into the cliffs along the Yulin River, named for the elm trees along the riverbank. It is nearly 170 kilometers away from Dunhuang, sharing a stylistic lineage with the Myriad. It is also known as the sister of the Myriad. On the south of the west wall of Yulin Cave 3 lies the sutra illustration of Samantabhadra. On the cliff bank to the left of the mural, a monk is worshipping a bodhisattva, with his hands folded in prayer. Behind him, a disciple with monkey-like features, wide-eyed, head raised, and baring his teeth, also folds his hands in prayer. And the horse carries a shining bundle of scriptures. It illustrates the famous scene of monk Xuanzang, a story that has been widely known through the classic novel, Journey to the West. The monkey-faced figure in the mural is Sun Wukong, who escorts Xuanzang to retrieve the scriptures. Similar depictions can also be found in Avalokitesvara viewing the moon on the west wall of Cave 2, and in the eastern Thousand Buddha caves in Guizhou. These murals were all painted during the Western Xia period, from the 11th to the 13th century AD. These murals with a monkey-faced figure predate the novel journey to the west by at least 300 years. Why were the earliest images of Sun Wukong portrayed in the caves of Dunhuang? Coincidentally, there is also a well-known divine monkey in India, worshipped in temples everywhere. The monkey god Hanuman is a figure from ancient Indian mythology. Born with immense strength, mastered supernatural abilities, could soar through the skies, and possessed an immortal body. His weapon, a massive golden mace resembling a rod, symbolizes wisdom and strength. Some scholars believe that Hanuman's tale may gradually spread to China during the eastward transmission of Buddhism. Over generations, artists reimagined and transformed the Indian monkey god Hanuman into the Chinese figure Sun Wukong, a disciple of Xuanzang. This fascinating connection offers a glimpse into the early exchanges of civilizations.
Dunhuang is like the crossroads of West and East, Central Asia. So all these different peoples from different countries, with their different languages, different religions, different cultures, they all came into China through Dunhuang.
The Ajanta caves in central India, first carved in the 2nd century BC, is one of the oldest caves in India. The Waghra River forms a horseshoe-shaped bend here, and the caves are carved on the steep cliffs along it, stretching for over 550 meters. Stupa circumambulation is a practice originating in ancient Indian Buddhism. In the Ajanta caves, you can see this type of cave formation called a chaitya, which features a stupa made from natural rock in the center of the cave. Images are carved into niches on the stupa, and worship aisles are formed between the four walls and columns, for monks and believers to circumambulate the stupa and offer worship. The early central pillared caves of Dunhuang evolved from this. The monastic caves in the northern area of the Muaga also originated from India's Vihara caves, which were mainly used for the daily life and religious practices of monks, with almost no mural paintings or statues. Apart from the cave formations, the thousands of painted statues preserved in Dunhuang, from their forms to the colors applied and even the statue-making techniques, all bear strong influences from Indian caves. Yulin Grottoes Cave 45 contains some of the finest Despite the significant differences in geographical and climatic conditions, The construction of grottos began shortly after Buddhism was introduced to Dunhuang, and continued for over 1,000 years. A grand eastward journey of Buddhist grotto art began from here. Among the many grottos at the Muogao, Cave 275 holds a legendary allure. The arch niches with two spreading trees at the top originate from the western regions or India, while the adjacent niches with the Chinese-styled gateway are symbols of traditional Chinese architecture. This statue of pensive Bodhisattva puts his left hand on his foot and his right foot flat on his left knee. The high-bridged nose extends to the forehead, and the lips are adorned with a distinct mustache. At the center of the main wall stands a Maitreya statue, crowned with a tri-bead headdress of Indian style, draped with a large scarf and cinched with a pleated skirt. The clothing folds bulge with applied clay strips, with legs crossed in a seated posture. The figure's pose, form, and detailed drapery all bear distinct hallmarks of early Greek culture. Why did the traces of Greek civilization appear in the painted sculptures of the Muogao grottos? It suggests that Buddhism may not have entered China directly from India, but through a process of cultural fusion and adaptation with other civilizations.
A lot of the Buddhism we see at Dunhuang is actually from the northwestern part of India, not actually directly from India, because it had to pass through the northwestern part, and that is around Afghanistan and Pakistan. That's Gandharan culture.
Gandhar, one of the 16 ancient Indian states, mainly encompassed today's northeastern Pakistan and eastern Afghanistan, connecting South Asia, Central Asia, and West Asia. It played a pivotal role in the transmission and localization of Buddhism in China. This reclining Buddha statue, one of the most valuable collections in the National Museum of Antiquities of Tajikistan, measures 13 meters in length and captures the moment of Shakyamuni's nirvana, revealing an ineffable beauty. Notably, the clothing patterns on the reclining Buddha resemble wet clothes, echoing those found in Cave 275 of the Muogao. This distinctive artistic technique originated in ancient Greece and matured in Gandhar. In the 4th century BC, with the wars of Alexander the Great, the culture and art of ancient Greece and Persia arrived in the Gandhar region. A century later, in India, under the promotion of Emperor Ashoka, Buddhism spread from the banks of the Ganges to the entire South Asian subcontinent. When the Buddhism of ancient India encountered the sculptural art of ancient Greece in Gandhar, an artistic dialogue ensued and gave birth to the hybrid Gandhar Buddha statues. These statues feature muscular physiques, high noses, curly hair with distinct European features, and rich drapery folds with evident ancient Greek influences. However, the historically tumultuous Gandhar region was not the final resting place for world civilizations. After ancient Indian, Persian, and ancient Greek civilizations completed their dialogue and fusion in Gandhar, they embarked on a new journey to Dunhuang in the Far East. It was only in Dunhuang, upon colliding with the Eastern civilization from the Central Plains, that this reinvention of world civilizations was finally completed. The large reclining Buddha statue in Cave 158 of the Muogao, built around the first half of the 9th century CE, measures 15.8 meters in length and represents the culmination of Nirvana statues, exhibiting an exquisite beauty of tranquility. This statue, with its eyes seemingly closed, and a slight smile on its lips. Conveys a sense of immortality in spite of physical demise. For 1,200 years, it has remained unperturbed, serenely facing pilgrims. The cave's murals complement the Buddha statue, making the Nirvana scene captivating and touching. Reflecting the cultural fusion among different nations and religions.
The genius of Dunhuang is that it managed to combine influences from so many different sources. So that's why I say it's a very cosmopolitan and international place.
Objectively, this unique position made Dunhuang the most open and dynamic place within the Heshi corridor. And it's the end point and starting point where various cultures collided and exchanged for the first time. There's only one Dunhuang. No other place possesses such a remarkable combination of conditions.
From Zhang Qian's opening up of the western regions to the establishment of Dunhuang Commandery. Cities, agricultural systems, and official post systems. Dunhuang transitioned from a nomadic civilization to a new era of Chinese civilization based on agricultural civilization. With the roots of Confucian and Taoist cultures from the Central Plains taking hold here. The exchange and integration of civilizations in Dunhuang has been inevitable. During this pivotal period of terrestrial exchanges, when cultures from various ethnic groups and foreign nations and the Central Plains met here. Dunhuang grotto art, rooted in the Han and Jin dynasties' Central Plains culture, absorbed Buddhist artistic ideas from Central and West Asia, achieved a synthesis and exchange between Chinese and foreign cultures, and grew into a distinctive and captivating cultural entity. Dunhuang, a millennia-old cultural monument, will continue to flourish on the sands and oases as a radiant example of cultural fusion.